It tracks like my face or something. It's just like AMV. What that was in AMV Hell, right?
Yeah.
What's it called? They used it with a little snow fairy sugar.
Yes,
That was,
yes they did.
Man, I miss that shit. Oh lord.
I have watched AMV Hell 3 more times than is probably healthy for a human being to have done.
How many years ago was that? It feels so old now.
04, so ancient. 05.
It's
maybe.
almost been 2 decades.
Oh my
2
God.
decades since AMV Hell?
I wouldn't say almost 2 decades.
It's
They're
been
6 years
16 years. 16 years. Rounds up to 20. Got a spoon? Got any, like, measuring spoons or anything?
Oh shit, I don't know if we have measuring spoons.
Whatever, I'll just eyeball it. I spent enough time in... That's like...
The crack camps.
half a teaspoon. After this trip up here, like, I never want to see fucking Mountain Dew again.
Alright, E-Kon.
Yeah?
Fix the anime YouTube community. What do we need to do?
Honestly, I don't think anything needs to be done. I think the anime community, YouTube community is in a good place.
Where do you think it's heading?
I don't know where it's heading. If I really think about it, I think it's gonna head in such a way that, put it simply, the anime YouTube community is a very fan-driven one. And I think that's both a strength and a downside. The truth is, like, there's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of, like, fan perception-based stuff in the community. That is to say, whenever somebody's talking about analysis, a lot of times it ends up being editorial. When I think analysis, and I think criticism and stuff like that, I think something that takes in both your personal perspective, as well as some sort of relevant expertise to the field. For example, if I'm watching a movie analysis or I want to see a movie criticism, I want somebody who can kind of break it down in such a way that goes beyond their opinion. I want them to be empirical. I want them to talk about story structure. I want them to talk about cinematography and such and such. Oh, shit. This is what happens when you... I'm going to wipe this off real quick. Thankfully, the stove isn't very hot, so these eggs don't cook right away and become a pain to remove. But then you also have an electric stove top, so that's alright.
So when you say that you want, like, people who know more about story structure, do you want people who have, like, attempted to make things themselves, or just who have, like, read up on people who have attempted to make things themselves?
I think it could be a bit of both. I think you should, you know, the kind of old adage is that you can't really be a critic until you tried your hand at doing something. And, you know, I tried my hand at writing movie scripts, I tried my hand at animation, drawing and stuff like that. But I don't think that's necessarily a prerequisite. Obviously, having somebody who's been in the field is a plus. But, and I think that's the reason that someone like Super Eyepatchful's opinion is very relevant, because he works in the animation field. And you can look at, like, that guy who runs the animation design shops where he talks about video game animation. The way he talks about that, god damn it! You have to watch these fucking eggs. Stupid. Ah, shit. It's fine. Anyways, yeah.
You don't have to look at me while you talk to me, by the way. You can just look at the pan.
Yeah, but it's a little awkward.
It's fine.
I think we lost like half an egg just due to spill it. I mean, they are starting to congeal a little bit. If you smell it, it's actually starting to smell real nice. It smells almost like a pastry.
It does smell quite nice.
But yeah. So, what I'm saying is that I wouldn't call it a problem, but I would call it a deficiency in the community. Where I think because of the fact that people are speaking from the heart, you know, and not from any point of empirical evidence. A lot of times they can say things that have been said better before, they can miss a lot of relevant points. Like I was talking to you earlier about that video essay guy, and he was saying how he spent a lot of time coming up with a phenomenon he saw in movies a lot. And he was spending a lot of time coming up with a term for it and trying to figure out where it went, and he called it the sabbatical. Like, at the end of Act 2, the character goes through a downturn.
Right.
But the truth is, that's been a principle in writing for, you know, literally forever. And not for every movie, but like most movies.
Watch any Disney movie.
Yeah. And, like, it's well documented in writing. You know, Blake Snyder calls it the Dark Night of the Soul. And there's a lot of people who've written about it in depth before. Right. And so all you're doing is you're not adding anything new. This is information anybody could have gleaned if they just read a textbook for 2 seconds.
Right.
And because of that, I believe that, like, if you just bother to learn this information, you can come up with more diverse and more elaborate and interesting opinions. You can stand on the shoulders of giants to look further. You don't necessarily have to start from scratch.
Right.
However, I believe it is also because of this amateurishness that the anime YouTube community is successful. You look at people like, you remember from the blog days, like Lee Longer, like Super Fanicom, stuff like that.
I had a really difficult time reading their shit at the time because it was too academic.
Because it was too academic.
And I was like 17 and hadn't read any books, you know?
Yeah, because even though they knew what they were talking about, even though they were on the shoulders of giants, the truth is, they lose some relatability in that. They speak in such a way that it demands a little more from the audience, and it demands a little bit more from themselves. And as a result, you know, it doesn't feel organic. It feels like you are in a lesson and not with a friend. And that's kind of the strongest appeal that YouTube has. You don't want to be there to be in a lecture. Most people, you know, I might be different, but most people generally don't want to go to anime class and learn about anime history and all that. They want to hear somebody they relate to talk about anime and help them digest their ideas. And the more convoluted and, you know, further up on these shoulders of giants that we go, the more we quote, you know, scholars and we discuss principles in writing. We are starting from a foundation that can go over people's heads.
Right.
And as a result, it's kind of like, I don't know, I'm sorting out my own thoughts on it, you know, because I'm kind of stuck between two worlds, but I have to turn up the heat a little bit more. Let me turn on, I probably can't turn on the fan, it'll interfere with the sound.
It'll be fine.
You sure?
Just put it on low.
A little bit of gray noise background sound, too.
Actually, that is quite loud.
That is quite loud. That is quite loud. I guess the house would just have to smell like eggs.
Open up the window.
Oh, yeah, sure. You can't open up this window.
Never mind. You can't open that window.
But yeah, because of the fact that these people are kind of amateurs and dumb, it lets people relate to them a little bit more. You know, when you're watching something like a video game review on YouTube, and they're talking about game design and stuff. You know, I watch some of them and I'm just like, Will Wheaton did so many great videos on this subject. You know, Will Wheaton, the designer of SimCity. And,
Will Wheaton?
Not Will Wheaton, Will something.
I was gonna say,
not Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton is the kid from Star Trek.
Shut up. Will something, the designer of SimCity. He released a bunch of videos on game design, and they're very fascinating, and I think anybody who wants to get into game design should read them. But they're also dense, they're academic, and they're interested in teaching. And as a result, it's harder for most people to digest it. Again, you can make the best arguments in the world, but if people don't find you to be a relatable narrator, if people don't find you somebody that they trust and want to listen to, then in the end it'll just go in one ear and
where do you think the happy balance is? Like, who do you think is... It can, like... What do you think that, how do I put this? There's obviously some YouTubers who you think are doing fine as they are. I know you think guys like Giguk and Super Eye Patch Wolf.
I'm not gonna say they're perfect.
Yeah.
But I'm not perfect either, and I think they have room for improvement. But I'm not gonna begrudge them for what they do. That's what.
What do you think you need to improve on the most?
I think I need to improve on not being a dick. I think I need to improve on being somebody who communicates better and is more relatable. I don't think my writing needs work. I don't think... Well, everybody's writing needs work.
You're right. That's just a given, though, for everybody. Your writing will always need work.
But I don't think that is a field I need to put my focus onto. Right. I think that when it comes to my ideas...
Your writing's fine for an anime YouTuber, for sure.
I think when it comes to my ideas, I have thought them out fairly well. I think that is my strong suit.
You definitely have no problem with knowledge on anime.
However, I do feel like when I try to communicate with people, for example, the way I speak... For a lot of people, people dislike that. Or, you know, some of the attitudes I have. I'm not really a fun, you know, friend guy. I'm not like Giga. I can't, like, pop jokes. The jokes I pop are, like, obscure references to, you know, like, the Challenger space shuttle disaster or something like that. And as a result, you know,
For what it's worth, I thought your King of the Hill gag was fucking hilarious.
Which one?
The lay me down, let me die, or whatever.
Yeah, see, but that who's gonna get that? Who watched this?
I just thought it was funny because it was Chinese guy and.
Yeah. Oh no, he was like Vietnamese, wasn't he?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Asian guy.
Asian guy.
It sounded like when you said the line, it felt like it would be feasible to come out of his mouth. Like your voice is close enough to the character. By the way, so you've switched it to the big. I think you're using the bigger burner because it's like a small and a large one depending on which side.
Oh, is it?
Like this side is the small one, that side's the big one. So if you want to make it just the small.
I wasn't sure. What's it called? This is fine though. I'm just trying to congeal these eggs very slowly. The idea is you don't want them to cook fully, and you want them to cook very, very slowly.
Right.
That way when they come out, they're very runny.
So what do you think I need to improve the most?
You?
Yeah.
I think you've gotten yourself in a rut where you... I think you've gotten yourself in a similar rut to where I was before. And, I mean, obviously you're more experienced with anime YouTube. But I think you are currently having some thoughts and opinions that I've had before. Which is that... You know, I need to do something important. I need to talk about important anime. Like, I need to talk about things that will change the world and things that are, you know, super important, good anime. I need to discover good anime, and that should be my goal. I need to make videos about famous people and such and such and such. But I don't think that is the strength of YouTube, and I don't think that is what the audience wants from you. The audience wants you to talk about things that relate to them.
Right.
But so you can't get deep insights into their heads by talking about things that nobody cares about. The only way you're going to do that is by stooping to their level. I know you think you're above things like that Masamune video you made and crap like that, but in the end, that's what people want from you, and that's how you're going to get these insights into their head. That's how you're going to get your opinions into their head, and how, you're going to spread your ideas on things.
Yeah.
Not by making high-minded content, but by appealing to the lowest common denominator. Like I've said many times before, you know, the art of criticism is very much one of communication. It's about having an audience that believes you and relates to you and likes you. And if you don't talk about things that are relevant to them, then what's going to happen is you're just going to alienate a bunch of people, like you already have. And they're just not going to find what you say relevant to them. You're not going to be able to hook them in, right?
What do you think Ben needs to improve on?
His hands. I think Ben needs to learn how to draw better hands.
I know what do you have a defense? Do you want to come into the camera range and pitch your defense?
Well,
anywhere in this block is safe.
Well, I know what I need to
off the
improve on,
yeah.
which is that I just haven't been making anything lately. Well, that's not true. I've been working on Endless War, but that's so niche and like not everyone is going to be interested in that.
Yeah.
I need to put out more content.
All right.
And that's it. That's all there is to it.
Fancy scrambled eggs.
Those do look fancy
Salt
ass.
and pepper. Let's find the pantry. Where's the pantry?
Pantry?
Yeah, I'm looking for your spices. Oh, it's over there.
No, I don't think that one will have the spice. Oh, yeah.
It's got some stuff.
I raided your pantry earlier looking for stuff, so I know where.
Because there is like a spinny spice rack doohickey over there.
I think I know your kitchen a little better than you now.
Probably. I just thought we would have put it on this big screen.
Let me tell you my deal with YouTube right now. So my YouTube was you know, the Chris Chan lecture was making maybe like $3 a day. The Tales Gets Trolled lecture has doubled the profitability of my YouTube channel. It now pulls in like $6 a day, which is great.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean
that's like 3,000 views a day
for like 2 videos. Yeah.
Or 6,000 views a day if they're both getting that. So.
Yeah, yeah.
$3 per view?
No, pretty much
no,
1,000
views is $1?
Thereabouts.
Well, I think mine are
unless you're trending. Like if you have a video that blows up at some point and it reaches the trending page, then your videos become auctioned to advertisers.
Oh, okay.
So like if you're on that trending page, your ads become worth a lot more. And that's why someone like Mother's Basement makes like crazy money off of his ads, because he'll hit that trending page with a video getting like 1 million views, and he'll have like when he made this one Sword Art Online video that he told us about this when he came to our house, that like It's like a 45-minute video that had 4 total ads in it.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe 3 total ads. Like 1 at the beginning, 2 ad breaks, and it reached the trending page getting 1 million views. 1 million views normally translates to about $1,000.
But he made like 10K?
He made like four grand.
Okay.
Yeah, so like,
Anyway,
just
shut
because
up.
there were multiple.
Shut up and have some eggs before they cook.
I'll be honest.
Here you
Those
go.
look really gross.
What's a,
Well, they're fancy.
They're a little bit undercooked. They're a little bit runny, but that's kind of the point. They're not like super dried
It's
out.
good. Baby, you want to come try an egg?
Try some eggs.
I like it. I like it more than
Not
I
a
like
fan
regular
then?
scrambled egg.
No, they're good. Yeah.
The idea is that they're not fully cooked. The eggs still have some liquid in them. You put in a little bit of light cream in there so that it makes it so that they burn less easily. There's no like burns there. The eggs are just barely cooked and they're supposed to finish cooking in the bowl.
The texture is really nice and they're seasoned really
Yeah,
well.
I like it a lot.
Yeah. No, you can have it. I'm not hungry.
I don't want to eat this whole thing.
Ooh, it's hot.
Okay. Let's toss this in. And I'm gonna get some omelets ready.
That's the end of round 1.
Zone connection. I think he's way more famous for like Winter Moon.
Well, Digi doesn't know
Okay.
about Winter Moon.
There you go.
He was telling me about this like cult almost, like this cult of cam girls and one
Oh
cam boy
yeah, the
who
JRPG
who
guy.
formed around this Japanese guy with tons of money who had been like one of the cam girls like biggest donors for years, and like she finally like ran away from home and like went to live with this guy who'd been giving her money through her cam girls streams or whatever for all this time, and then like and he leads this mushroom cult, like all these cam girls like came to him and like see him as a god. Yeah,
They all cam.
they all came to him and like live with him and like see him as a literal god, because he like teaches some kind of transcendental like mushroom drug trip shit. And he's like this fucking tiny guy who like spikes his hair like this high, like
Whoa.
like a JRPG character. Yeah.
Like Tristan from Yu-Gi-Oh?
A little bit, yeah.
Sorta, but like it looks. I mean, you know how that would look really stupid in real life?
Yeah.
That's like that. Yeah. And apparently Mary like knew one of the girls who was like the main one, like the most famous one, who's like the front man of their weird little like cult clique thing.
That is fucking
I'll
bizarre.
find a picture. I'll find a picture of that.
Did you hear about the story of like the R. Kelly sex cult thing that he had going on?
Who hasn't?
Does it have anything
Everybody
to do
knew
with peeing on a 14-year-old?
Yes.
No, that's the old story.
Oh yeah, that's the old story. But I mean, I'm pretty sure they're all related. The R. Kelly sex cult where all the women had to call him daddy. Yeah.
Yeah, like he had some weird thing where like all these young girls were like just kind of under his command, I suppose. Like
Okay.
like his own little like army of wives, but like it was sort of implied that they're like brainwashed, and like there's like a lot of investigation was going on into it, sort of, but it was just
Is it like in his house?
Yeah.
yeah, and just like he would take them around with him like on his tour bus and stuff, and like
Huh.
there was a story about him having like one girl like disobeyed him, so he locked her in the tour bus for a day or something, but like they've all
How young are we talking?
like 19, 20, so
Okay.
not like underage, but like, you know,
Well,
young
basically,
enough
yeah.
to be very easily manipulated by R. Kelly.
Yeah.
I think anybody can be very easily manipulated by R. Kelly. He's R. Kelly.
That's fair.
There was all. Did you hear the similar case about the Smallville actress who had her own sex cult,
No,
and she tried to get a bunch of like Hollywood celebrities into it?
that's cool.
What was her name? Allison Mack, I believe. It was like she had her own fucking dominatrix sex cult.
Amazing. We gotta get in on all the sex cult action.
Yeah.
Fidelio.
We're
Fidelio.
missing it on
Fidelio.
a target demographic.
Fidelio. What's it called? Eyes Wide Shut was actually a documentary film, don't you know?
I still haven't seen Eyes Wide Shut. but
Okay,
I
so
want
that joke made no sense to you.
No, I know what it's about. Nate's a huge fan of that movie.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's like one of his favorites.
Would not expect that.
Nate is very, 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 very proactive about like sex should be open and everybody should talk about it all the time.
Is he?
Yeah, I don't know. Have you seen like a 30-year-old female cosplayer? It's not pleasant.
Yeah, I follow someone on Instagram and it's like, yeah, you're getting up there. Like,
Beauty is
Just
fleeting. You gotta make the most of it while you can, because past a certain point, you won't be able to swindle men for their money anymore. You know?
Yeah, I better get in on that market while I still can. Clock's ticking.
It's too late for you.
You gotta buy some more push-up bras.
Yeah.
Fucking get some V-necks.
Push up bra and the V-neck.
I don't know, man. Like, what's it called? Turtleneck sweaters are really hot. Maybe I just found a Japanese Twitter too much, but like, it's giving me a lot of weird fetishes.
Turtleneck chain.
It's all about that Virgin Killer sweater.
Yeah, the Virgin Killer sweater.
I have one.
Yeah.
But actually, I think the big thing now is I don't remember the word for it, but it's showing your breast in public. What's it called? But nobody but one person can see. It's like sneaking out your tit, like something like that.
Oh, flashing is the word?
No, there's a Japanese term for it, and it's very specifically flashing your tit in a crowded space.
Huh.
And I
They
think
would have a word for that.
Yeah, it's been like a huge anime meme recently, like the Virgin Killer sweater, or what was the thing that followed? It was like the cat swimsuit, the Virgin Killer sweater, and then there was the zipper sweater. I mean, the zipper swimsuit, yeah.
All I remember is the meme with there was the pregnancy meme of the holding up the pregnancy test.
That's
and then
old as hell.
There
though.
was the one with like girls making hand gestures to look like their vagina.
Oh yeah, that was
That
a
was a big one from like a year and a half ago or so.
Oh man, what's it called? Call me old-fashioned, but I think women look hotter dressed all up in clothes. Yeah.
Leave something to the imagination.
Exactly. There was a line from the manga Denchigai no Honya-san where it was like,
Yeah, there was a whole episode about it.
oh,
Because that was in the anime. Yeah, the Denki Guy anime is great.
Oh, I never
It was
watched
in
that.
2014.
The manga's fantastic. The manga's fucking fantastic.
The anime unfortunately like ends before any of the relationships make any progress. It's right next to
Oh, okay. Thank God. And I did not, was not a huge fan of the relationship stuff. What's it called? Mizu Asato does a lot of good stuff. He was also the guy who wrote that Wreck comic, you know.
like the one that became the Shaft show.
No. It was like a little Pixiv comic about like a girl, a middle school girl in front of a video camera and a man's forcing her to do something.
Oh, and then it like turns out it was innocent
Yeah,
all along.
yeah.
I never actually read that, but I saw the meme. when
Yeah,
it was a meme.
like he's been doing a lot of stuff since then.
I had no idea that was the same guy who did Denki Guy.
Yeah, same guy. He's done a lot of stuff.
You know,
recently.
the Denki Guy anime is out in America. Pony Canyon released it here.
I had no
But
idea.
they did it with like, you know about how Pony Canyon releases are in the U.S., right?
Yeah.
It's like that, so nobody bought it.
Well, I
Pony
mean-
Canyon has I understand what they are going for by trying to make like all of the releases like a big deal where it's like an expensive limited edition thing, but the anime that they've chosen to bring to the U.S. are just not shows people would pay that much for. Like no one's gonna spend $200 on a Denki Guy fucking collection, you know? Like
Just read the manga. I thought the manga was. I'd never watched the anime. I can't judge it, but like, I don't feel like it was the kind of thing that could be converted into anime very easily. There's a lot of very esoteric jokes.
I thought it was you should try it out.
I will.
It's a fun show.
I will. I didn't even know I got an anime.
Foo Girl is fucking adorable.
Oh,
They're all fucking adorable.
Fujoshi. Who calls it Foo Girl? It's Fujoshi.
No, I thought she was literally called Foo Garu or something like that.
I can't remember. I thought the pun was it was rocking Fujoshi. But yeah, I love the gag in it. I don't know if it was in an anime where like every time the mascot shows up, it's like some different version. Like in the beginning, it was like CD-Con, and then it was like hard drive Con, there was flash drive Con, and there was cloud Con. At some point,
If
I
that's
think
in
it
the
was
anime,
SD-Con.
I don't remember. It's been like 4 years, so I haven't rewatched it or anything.
Time passes
I
so
do
fast.
want to read that manga though, because I thought they were gonna make a second season of the show, but they
No
never
way.
did.
It's
So.
not that. I don't know if the manga's still ongoing. I haven't read it in ages. It's so fucking long.
But yeah, they definitely did adapt the scene where he gives the whole panties speech.
Yeah. Let's go. That manga was surprisingly like real at times. Like what's it called, with the light novel artist girl, and like she just go on these things about relationships and how a woman's weapons were vomit and tears.
Vomit and tears.
Vomit and tears. That was a woman's weapons.
Why vomit? Tears, I get it.
Well, vomit to help you lose weight, I guess.
Maybe.
No, I think it's just ways for people to feel sympathy for you. Because they were talking about.
I know that like in Japan, the idea of like a gross woman is represented via vomiting is kind of like I feel like that's more common. Like oftentimes to show in anime, I will often see like a woman being depicted as like disgusting is usually her vomiting. Like in Konosuba when Aqua's just like vomiting on the side of the.
You're looking too deep into it. I think it was.
I just think there's a lot of vomit in Japanese shit compared to American shit.
Japanese store, there's a lot of vomit.
Yeah.
Like imagery-wise.
Dude, I'm gonna be the one cooking. Please do not want to go get all this like body fluid stuff in my mind. No.
I think I think vomit comes up in the Shinsei Kamate-chan song, "Story of the Worst Girl."
Please don't every fucking.
I don't know the lyrics, unfortunately.
Are they still together?
Yeah, but they suck now.
Yeah, they always do.
It's because he got too happy. Like, they became a mainstream band who makes money. So, like, how can you continue to be, like, a suicidal madman? You know?
Hot calling the kettle black.
Yeah, but I don't, like, continue to do, like... The thing about Shinsei Kamate-chan is that, like, in their early stuff, the way they always describe themselves is they were like, oh, we basically just make pop music, but, like, with really dark themes. But, like, their early music was very discordant, and, like, there was a lot more experimentation and a lot of songs that were just, like, really out there that would be in the middle of an album. And then with their music at a certain point, it's like they figured out what their most successful songs were and then just only made those songs. But, like, so much of it, like, all their new albums, any of the songs that are, like, okay, there is a better version of the same song somewhere in their first 4 albums, you know? So to me, it's like their later albums are just not even worth it, because it's like, oh, here's like a worse version of the first track from the last album, you know? So, yeah, I would
Maybe.
say their first 4 are all really great, and after that, it's real spotty. Like, there's good songs, but the thing is that the lead singer guy, he's always just posted his mixes of his songs on his YouTube. He doesn't do it with all of them anymore, but like back before they got signed, like he would just release his original demo recordings, which are like, sound like fuck, but that's why I like them. And every once in a while he'll still put out a new song on his channel that's just like not related to the band, it's just him doing his own mix. And those are by far the best songs they've put out over the last like 5 years. Just any random shit he uploads to YouTube is like, oh my god, finally a good Shinsei Kamate-chan song.
I'm gonna apologize to the audience, whoever's watching this right now, for Digi's rant about irrelevant Japanese band that nobody cares about.
They're still relevant in Japan. I mean,
There's no way they're still relevant in Japan.
they're still popular. I mean, they're probably more popular than before because they sold out. But I'd still kill to see them live if they play any of their old
what's
shit.
it called? Good Japanese band, Sold Out. Now that's a good one. Sold Out, you know?
What's
The
that?
one with Digimo.
Who? I don't know.
Japanese rap. Come on.
The only Japanese rap I know is Homemade Kazuku.
They're not even that much rap, are they? They're more like. How did Eureka Seven? How did Eureka Seven turn out so that every single opening was like kick-ass?
I know, right?
Every opening was good.
All 4 are fucking
All
amazing.
and they're all good in like
they're
different ways. They're all fucking good.
Yeah.
And all the endings were good. Oh, that show was a miracle.
We just started watching it together. She's never seen it, and she's like, the first OP alone, she was like, this OP is god tier, and I was like, you have no idea. Like, they're like each one is better than the last.
Nah, I don't know. The last one was good, but
The last one is just
wouldn't
like
say
the
it's better.
fact it even exists is like a weird miracle. Like,
I think the best one for me was Tile.
yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Taiyo no manakae, I can't die away. That was the
See-
first karaoke I performed at Otakon.
I didn't like it at first, but it grew on me a lot. Like it grew on me a lot.
I think I cried the first time I saw that OP.
Why?
Just because the scene, like, just the fact that it's just like an unbroken scene, you know?
Oh yeah,
Like,
it was pretty fucking dope.
Yeah.
I think Eureka Seven was such a good show. Such a
I
good
know.
show.
Dude, the first episode is insane. Like, even though it's a 50 episode show, they pack like the whole like first act into the first episode, and the amount of information that's conveyed is crazy. Like, you learn about 3 generations of Renton's family are like fully characterized in that first episode. Like, you
Oh,
learn
they stuck the first act into the first episode. Where have I heard this before?
Yeah, well, you know.
Yeah, you took it
but
from me.
But like,
But
you're
here's the thing.
But, like-
most shows stick their first act into the first episode.
right
That's
nowadays. But like with Eureka 7, it's
even
just
in Eureka Seven's time. I would argue that Gundam stuck its first act into the first episode.
yeah, sure. That
Um,
yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think it pulls from Gundam heavily. But
It's basically Eureka Seven is this is gonna sound controversial, but I think it's the best rendition of the Gundam story that's
I
been
would
made.
agree.
It's the storyline is very archetypically Gundam.
Yeah.
You know, down to the part where he leaves and meets Rumba Rao and all that shit.
Yeah.
But like it's just done with so much more elegance than Gundam.
well, because
Amuro was a good character, but like
I think that with
in the
Gundam,
original
it
TV
was,
series, huh?
I think Gundam was just inventing so much shit.
Yeah.
Whereas Eureka 7 was just
Polishing
perfecting
it.
everything that Mecha was doing.
Well,
up until that
what's
point,
it called?
pretty much.
I will add an addendum though. This is something I actually wanted to bring up in the Dawn of the Franks video, but I ended up cutting it. Which is, the point of the video was that you can't simply follow a tried and true formula without understanding how it works. And I wanted to create a contrapositive, if you know what that was. Which is
I've heard the word, but you can describe it.
Okay, it's a sort of like a counter example that proves the point.
Right.
So Eureka 7, I
Are you
think,
about
is a
to
great
smoke a
example.
third cigarette?
Yeah, why?
All right, give me one.
Okay. Anyways, it's a counter example that sort of proves the point.
Ben, do you want another one?
Yeah.
And I think Eureka 7 is a good example of that, because it follows the formula, but it makes some very, very, very clear deviations from it. And
So wait, is it Eureka 7 or Eureka 7?
Eureka 7.
Okay. I
It's
wasn't
not
sure.
Eureka, it's Eureka.
Yeah.
Eureka.
Well, I know it's not Eureka, but I wasn't sure if it was Eureka or Eureka.
In the show, they definitely say Oda.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Eureka.
It's so, yeah.
I just want to click because every fucking time I say Eureka 7, someone's like, you mean Eureka? And I'm like, you clearly haven't watched the show.
Yeah.
Like, clearly
If
you have not
if
watched
you've
it.
Seen
if
it, you
think
know.
that's- Not to
Yeah.
mention, you can look at the Japanese characters. It says Eureka Seven. You know, like.
But anyways, what's it called? When I was discussing that, I was talking about the rejection of the call, and how that's usually a vital aspect to humanize the protagonist. Because, essentially, if you don't set up a stake for him, if you don't say, his world is so comfortable that he doesn't want to leave,
Yeah.
then when he does leave it, it doesn't have that impact. Because to go on the adventure, he has to give something up.
Yeah.
That's what gives the adventure weight. That's what shows that it's worth going on. In Eureka 7, there isn't that moment. Renton doesn't really say, hey, I
Because
want...
he hates his life.
Yeah, because he hates his life. However, he managed to get past that by having such a detailed examination of his life
Yeah.
that you don't need that moment in order for us to
And
feel
that-
that he's a human character.
And that we also can see, like,
And it goes...
like
and
what made that episode so powerful for me is that is the granddad, and I think it was really genius to have it that his dad is like a famous hero who invented all this crazy shit and died, but his granddad was just like a mechanic. Like his granddad's not a hero, you know.
Here's the other thing. They get past that in multiple ways. Not only by humanizing Renton such that this moment isn't necessary, but also by putting it very much within the realm of Renton's character that he would do this. He is the kind of person that would simply do that, that would not hesitate and whatever. So that's a strong character moment. But what I thought was the smartest thing they did was with the granddad.
Yeah.
The granddad has his mini arc throughout the episode where he
Yeah.
does face the call, which is the call to let his grandson go.
Right.
And he rejects that at first. He
Yeah.
is the one who has to reject the call.
Right.
And then the episode ends, the second episode ends with him accepting the fact. So he kind of acts as a surrogate so that Renton can just be a brash hothead.
Right.
And that actually comes to a head later on.
Yeah.
Because he didn't reject the call, because he didn't hesitate, he realizes something towards the end of the first third of the show.
Yeah.
Which is that, hey, I joined this group, but they weren't just hippies, you know, they're a bunch of like eco-terrorists and shit.
Yeah.
And that Che Guevara isn't just a guy on a shirt, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
we're actually killing people, and that's like really fucked up.
And he kills
it-
a bunch of people
Exactly.
in episode 2 without thinking about
Yeah,
it
exactly.
at all. You
And
know?
it's precisely because he didn't have this moment of introspection early on that it hits him like extra hard here.
Right.
And it hits the audience extra hard here, you know?
Yeah.
And it by deviating from the formula, but understanding why the formula exists, they're able to create something that isn't cliche and yet bears stronger emotional impact than what the traditional formula would.
Yeah.
So
It's fucking great.
it's great. So they
And you learn about so Renton's granddad has an entire arc. Renton has the beginning foundation of an arc. Like, he does have to change. He has to become brave and decide to protect Eureka, but he's completely foolhardy in doing so and will be beaten down for the next 13 episodes.
Yeah.
But like, and then you get established his sister, who it seems was fucking Holland. You can tell that from like episode 1. And that like he won't. So now you know why Holland has a history now established, and you also learn that Holland was like a genius boarder when he was like a kid. You learn about where he's from without him even appearing on screen yet. Like, there's just so much established about so many characters across like several generations of this story, even before you know any of why. Like, you don't know what Gecko State's fighting.
Don't get me wrong. I don't
know?
think those things by themselves make for a good story. Like,
yeah. No, they don't. But
It's not about how
just
much we learn.
fascinating.
It
Like,
is fascinating
it's
how much they can
fascinating
get
to watch the
squeezed
show
in.
and be like, how did they do this when there's other shows that have no information in their first episode? You know?
Because, here's the thing: it's not hard to squeeze information in a show. Like all these like stupid exposition
relevant
dumps.
information.
Not even relevant information. The key is how to squeeze the information in while creating engaging character drama.
Right.
It's very easy to stick exposition in. If you ever read a textbook, you know how
Yeah,
easy
yeah,
it is
yeah.
to provide information. The key is to provide information
that is
through-
emotional and it makes people care.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Through relevant
And it
character
does.
arcs.
Like, it makes you really, like, I mean, I think a lot of people who don't connect with Eureka 7 in the in the first few episodes because they don't like Renton,
Yeah.
don't appreciate that I think you're really meant to empathize with his granddad.
You are, but I think
unless you're a kid, like,
you're,
if
you're
you're a
supposed
kid,
to
you're meant
supposed to
connect
empathize
to
with
Renton,
both of
you
them.
know?
They're because like
I think that much like Ava, it's a show that whatever age you watch it at, there will be a different
yeah.
main character for you. You know, like
yeah, and that's probably one of the strong suits. And that was one of the strong suits of things like Gundam and Eva to begin with, is that
Yeah.
they have such a diverse appeal. They can appeal to like kids and adults. Well, I guess Gundam was mostly adults, but
Gundam, yeah, I think that, and with Eureka 7, I do think that there's a lot of adults who have difficulty with the show because it does go full bore on being like cheesy and childish. Like when Renton's falling, he screams, "I can fly!" And, like,
Well,
there's corny moments
no,
that I think for some
I
people
think-
are
I
difficult.
think it's precisely because you have these corny moments. The show can be very serious at times. There are
Yeah.
war
Oh, it
orphans.
gets really fucking
It's
serious.
bloody.
You know?
The show is like fraught with despair and sadness and violence.
Yeah.
And because there's this contrast between this idealistic surfer culture and the real world that's holding them down, that is like the core conflict of the show. It's this ideological conflict between freedom and what's it called, idealism, and the harsh realities that it has to get brought back to. And Gecko State is a really good representation of that, right? Because they are this idealistic commune of people who value freedom and want to pursue these things, but at the same time, they're fighting in a fucking war, and it's like violent and brutal and tragic. And that's kind of what kind of drives that final episode where there's this asshole that they just save the world, whatever, and get to be together. That's what really drives it home. It's because it created a world where these things are unlikely. And it shows that if you want these values of freedom and passion and all that shit, then you need to, you know, make an effort to break away from the mold.
Yeah.
And you need to find a way to reconcile those things.
Yeah.
That's what the show is trying to say. And it's not like I
It's
don't
a fucking masterpiece. It's a 10 out of 10.
the cheesiness doesn't hurt the show, but rather or doesn't hurt the serious aspects of the show, but drive them home. It's contrasting. These points kind of like enhance one another
Yeah.
through comparison.
I
It's
just think
such a
that-
fucking good show.
I completely
It's such a
agree with you.
fucking good show.
What I meant to say by it having those corny moments is not that that's bad for the show, but that is why there are some adults who will struggle with it. Like people who take themselves too seriously. It's still recording. I can see the red.
Oh god, I forgot.
Yeah.
I'm on camera.
Anyways, it's such a fucking. I think my appreciation for that show has increased as time has gone on. Like,
I mean, it was my favorite anime at the time I watched it, but I haven't rewatched it fully in like
You
a
should, you
decade.
should,
And
you
that's
should.
what I'm in the process of it.
I
I mean,
think-
I was really impressed with the first 2 episodes, like even more than I remembered. You know, so I was like, damn, I am excited to watch this shit again.
But again, I think a lot of times this is part of what I was talking about before. You know, people say, "Oh, there's character development. There's a reveal of information that makes the show good, right?" But these things by themselves don't make the show good. like again, it's very easy to dump exposition. You can be like, what's it called? What was that example McPhee used while we were listening to the book? It was like, for example, he was comparing two scenes, and he was saying one scene was, hey there, Digi, I haven't seen you in 20 years.
Oh.
What's it called? Haven't seen you since high school. How are you doing?
How long have we been friends?
Yeah,
Must be 20 years now. Boy, the
Yeah.
time sure does fly.
Yeah,
Anyway, what's going on?
And he was saying that was a terrible piece of exposition because it doesn't drive character drama, and it doesn't do anything except tell the audience, eavesdropping audience, something that the characters themselves should already know. Meanwhile, his counterpoint for a good example of that would be, look at you, Digi. Still wearing the same old shirt, doing the same old things.
Yeah, that would be good.
What's it called? You haven't grown at all since high school. That reveals
You
the
failed the college entrance exams twice now.
No.
Why do you have to go back to your hometown now?
Yeah, or something like
You're
that.
so
It doesn't
easygoing.
matter. I will go to the class reunion and then I will come back again, Rumiko.
So
But-
easygoing.
You are so easygoing.
But the point is that
This is best establishing dialogue for a character of all time.
tells you everything you need to know in the first
Pretty much.
second.
but the point
and
is
then
that
you're set to go.
the second latter example reveals information about the characters by tying it into a character arc and into character drama. In other words, they're using information as ammunition. The characters are fighting, and they're using this information as weapons to fight with, rather
Yeah.
than just revealing it to the audience and having it be sterile.
Yeah. I
And-
just watched Manchester by the Sea recently.
Oh, that was
Just
such a good movie.
great
Yeah,
example
great
of that.
example. But yeah, so whenever people talk about like, oh, there's character development, we learn so much about the characters. Is it still recording? Huh?
Okay, it's still.
It's still going?
No, I think they're. Yeah, it's still going.
Okay.
I'm just gonna stop this clip and start it over.
Yeah. It's like. It's alright.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, what's it say? Yeah, it's like, so whenever people say things like, oh, this has character development, isn't that great? Or this has, you learn so much about character, isn't that great? Those things are valuable in and of themselves.
Right.
They're
You
necessary.
gotta integrate it into the movie in such a way that the action's always being propelled forward.
Exactly.
No matter what.
It's about how well you can reconcile these things while keeping drama, conflict, irony
Yeah.
alive. Those things by themselves are necessary, but because they are necessary, they do not in and of themselves present a virtue.
Yeah, and there's a lot of power in like the timing of information reveals too. Like I think
Oh, yeah, that's the whole concept behind suspense, isn't it?
yeah, and the irony as well, because like with Manchester by the Sea, for instance, like it gives you a long time just like watching this character be like a weird spurge before they finally explain why. But it's to get you like you don't immediately sympathize with him, and then through the rest of the movie, because if at the start they told you like this guy burned his house and killed his kids, then the whole movie you would just feel sorry for him. But instead, you yourself like, why is this guy such a fucking asshole up until like an hour in, and you're like, oh, that's why he's such a fucking asshole, like. But as a result, you understand how other people perceive him because you've gotten to experience it with them before really knowing, the more emotional context. What did you think of? Okay, so you saw that movie.
Yeah.
Do you agree that the kid is fucking terrible in that movie, like the actor? With his Australian accent constantly slipping through his Boston accent.
Okay, that was a little funny. I don't know if I would be like, the kid is fucking terrible. Like, when you're watching the TV show House, like, it's really fucking obvious that, what's his face?
Hugh
Hugh Laurie is British. It's really fucking obvious that it's a fake American accent. But you know what? Like, it's still good acting, right? So, like, I want to...
It was very distracting for me when he's speaking in a Boston accent and then suddenly Australian, like,
Remember-
half the time.
What's that movie that I made the video about? That is about.
I don't know, you
Only
made the video.
Yesterday?
Only Yesterday, and how the one guy has an Australian accent, even though his parents
What?
don't, and nobody else does.
fuck?
In the
talking
dub.
about?
He watched the dub of Only
Oh.
Yesterday.
You
at,
only
like, a
watched the
show or
dub of
something.
Moy de Poro Poro? Come on.
Yeah,
Come on. Pleb. Come on.
Well, he saw it in that theater.
yeah.
Yeah. Watching a movie in the theater. You watch the sub in the theater, pleb. You know how long I have to drive to watch Shin Gojira? Like, what's it called?
I was lucky. It actually came to my town.
Oh my god, that movie is so good. That movie is so good. That movie
Yeah,
is so good. Oh
we're
my God,
looking
that movie
forward
is so
to
good.
watching that again.
Yeah. That movie was so
Never
good.
show it to me.
I think you'll very much like Kamata-kun.
She will love that movie overall. And she just saw Ava for the first time like a month ago and is like
It
obsessed
changed
with
my
it. So.
life.
Well, I mean, yeah, everybody has that feeling when they're first watching Eva.
Yeah.
It's a
Are
show
we
that.
ready to go back in and continue cooking?
Yeah, let's do that.
It didn't help that I smoked a bowl through the OP of every episode. It's like
Mine's
a 26 episode.
Cologne.
I would have watched Eva higher.
No, I'm rewatching it right now.
Just to keep you happy, E-Kon, I'm putting on another My Little Pony
Oh,
shirt,
wow.
just to make
Wow.
sure. So, E-Kon, why don't you tell us about some of your favorite anime? Do you have one that you would consider your absolute favorite? Last time I asked you this, you answered with Takarajima.
Yeah.
Would you still say that's your favorite?
Well, I mean, it's a contested role, right?
Mm.
Nowadays, I'd say it's either that or Giant Robot, but that's about it.
Okay.
Like, I think both of those are excellent shows.
Well, these are both shows that most modern, newer anime fans probably have not seen. How would you sell it to a YouTube audience in brief?
Oh yeah.
To my audience who's going to be watching this vlog.
I wouldn't. If you want to watch it, you watch it. What's it
Okay.
called? Those, I think that I don't feel any responsibility to sell it. I don't think those shows are perfect. They appeal to me for very personal reasons. And I think that if, anime rendition of Treasure Island, or if the idea of a, giant robot series that also features, characters from the Romance of the Three Kingdoms appeals to you, you should watch them. And yeah, I might put a little more effort into selling it at some other time, but I'm cooking eggs right now. Generally speaking, though, I think that there's a lot of fixation, I think, especially coming from you, on watching good anime.
Mm.
And like you made that video a while back called "We Don't Have Enough Time," and I personally think that viewpoint's mistaken.
Mm.
I think this kind of quiet and often not so quiet desperation we have towards watching what is the best anime or what is good anime is misguided and ultimately leads to a unenjoyable anime watching experience.
Mm.
Rather, we have to come to terms with the fact that sometimes we don't always enjoy the best anime.
Right.
And our tastes don't always correspond to what is well crafted and such. We enjoy anime for very many personal reasons that have nothing to do with how good a show is.
Right.
For example, let's say they made an anime called Now Toyama Goes on a Date with E-Kon. And the opening was done by Pinocchio P, and but the writing was just fucking terrible. The characters were bland and generic, and the animation was piss. It would still probably be my favorite anime of all time, you know what? Because it appeals to a very specific fantasy I have about going to eat shortcakes with Now Toyama, you know? So, the truth is, when you tried so hard to find, the best anime or what is the greatest anime or whatever to watch, you take away the power for you to discover your own taste. And you take away the power of bad anime. I think bad anime is incredibly valuable to watch. I think I've personally learned a lot more about anime from watching bad anime than good anime.
I think that's fair to say.
I think
I don't think I'd be able to even recognize what's so good about the best anime had I not examined what I don't like.
Exactly. Because humans make decisions through comparison. And when you preclude yourself from watching quote-unquote bad anime, you are also denying yourself the opportunity to experience the craftsmanship of those bad anime. Mm-hmm. What makes them so bad? What makes them so good? Maybe there are things that you perceive to be bad that other people like. Maybe there are things in these bad anime, even though they're ultimately bad, that are still redeemable and that give the show value. Maybe those things.
What's your favorite bad anime?
Oh, now that's an interesting question. Ooh. Favorite bad anime?
Okay, E-Kon, what is your favorite bad anime?
Okay, I'll go through some honorable mentions first.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, you mentioned it earlier, Majikoi. Majide watashi ni koi shinesai. Whatever you call it.
Mm-hmm.
It was based on a visual novel. I was a huge fan of it. And, the anime was fucking atrocious. But, you know what? It was, fan service to people who played the game. And it brought to life a lot of these characters that you really liked. And even if the fucking anime was terrible, in every objective empirical quality, the craftsmanship was bad, the writing was bad. It was a little funny, but most of those funny bits were jokes they took from the show.
It was a fun show. I sat through 3 whole episodes of it somehow, so...
Yeah. But it nearly captured the spirit of the original, and I adored it for that. So, that's an honorable mention. Actually, in that same vein, you can say the same thing about like Fate 2006, right? Let's go. Looking back on it,
Fate 2006, I made it through 8 episodes of that, and I thought that show was almost underrated. Like, it's not good, but it has a lot of good things about it, and that director is super fucking interesting.
Yeah. I think the thing is, it's nostalgic for a lot of people. For you know, when we watched it all was airing, the visual novel of Fate didn't get translated until 2009. So you know, we reflect on it and we're like, oh my god, what's it called? This is our first entry into Fate. This is our first entry.
I
into,
never
like,
saw
Type
any
Moon
of it
autism.
until like last year.
Huh?
I had never watched the original show until like last
seriously?
year. Yeah.
Well, I mean, for people who watched it at the time, it's you know. Unfortunately, at the time, there were all like these funny fake comics that people were drawing, and like reflecting on them, they were like fucking old school internet memes.
Yeah.
Like, did you think of them as like normie shit now? But like back then, they were edgy and cool, like low and what's it called? And firing my laser and all that shit.
Oh yeah.
And all that is
Ship-to-woo.
yeah, and all that shit is like crisscrossed with like sexual and racist memes and shit from that era. So it's like. You know, you think of them as super normal now, but you have to remember at some point they were like hip and you know on the cutting edge. But yeah, I'm reflecting on that and I'm thinking, damn, that's a good time, you know. And I think for a lot of these shows, you know, when you're talking about attachment to a terrible anime, you do so because of the experience you had watching it and the way it made you and other people react. And I think that's why my favorite bad anime has got to be something like Code Geass R2.
Okay.
Like, I mean, it's a fairly well-known show. I'm sure people were expecting something more obscure, but for fuck's sake, the fun I had while watching that show on the internet with the message boards, like, fucking
I will
A
never
and whatever.
forget the day the last episode came out, because it was the only thread on A.
Exactly.
The entire board
was nothing. All
Code Geass R2.
I mean, not even that. The chess scene.
I wasn't even watching the show.
Oh.
Because I made it through 10 episodes, and then I made the mistake of deciding to try to episodically blog it for...
Yeah, I remember that.
For whatever the hell that blog was, that fucking group blog. And then, like, as soon as I attached myself to having to write about it, I never watched it again. But I watched people react to it on 4chan.
And that was so much fun.
Yeah, it was worth the price.
And like
of admission.
when you're just talking about it with people, because it's so fucking stupid, like maybe the show was designed that way. Maybe the show was designed to be stupid and with a lot of cliffhangers, just so that people have something to make fun of. The chess scene.
The chess scene with the fan sub that had like an entire paragraph explaining why it doesn't actually make sense.
That was GG. The jokes were he just made an illegal move in chess, and so what's it called? There was like an explanation that was like, well, he's actually trying to gauge, you know, Lelouch's what kind of person he is, and it's like, because if he calls him out on an illegal move, then he's just like, oh, what's it called? I'm calling you out, but on the rules of war, and it sounds like super stupid. And then he goes ahead and takes the piece, then he's like his father, because, you know, he's, you know, being like a dick. And but he decides that he wants to retreat behind a pawn, and that's symbolic or something. And then, like, the last guy is, well, I think what it really is symbolic of is he wants to get buddy-buddy and play dirty in bed. It's fucking... Oh, those were the heights of the fan sub years when all this shit was going on. What's it called?
Keikaku meets Plan.
Yeah, when people were just having fucking fun with it. Or in the Kogai sub of... the Kogai sub of K-On! There was a scene where...
Cold girls.
No, Cold Guys.
Was it the guys or the girls?
It was the guys.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like kind of like joke meme subs, but I remember there was this fantastic scene where the sensei, what's her name again? Sawako?
Yeah. Sawa-chan sensei.
Sawako sensei, and she's saying go men, go men, go men, and Tioda was like, she's not go men in Japanese means sorry, but she's not actually saying sorry. She's actually saying go men, as in the. She wants men to go and fuck her, like Blizzard is fucking us with StarCraft 2. Why the hell would you release a game in 3 separate portions? Fuck you, I'm not spending any money on your fucking game. I'm watching, I was like, funny as shit.
What?
This is a fan sub. Like, someone had put all that on text on screen on the show because he's personal vendetta
against Blizzard.
Against Blizzard.
Or if you remember watching Ichigo Mashimaru, the Lime subs, on the eye catches between in the middle of episodes, they would like put little notes on the side where it'd be like,
I remember
don't you want to sniff your little sister's panties or something like that.
I do remember that actually.
But yeah, like
The point is, like, with a lot of bad shows, you know, the quality of the show isn't always what determines your experience watching it. There's also people around you. There's this world at large. You know, there's the internet.
And you can't ignore that.
And you can't ignore that because it's very much placing a part of that experience.
I think
like,
that,
if I were to watch Code Geass R2 now, I would not enjoy it. I think it's a fucking terrible show. But back then, it was a perfect fucking storm of shit.
Tell me how if you agree with this, that I think a big problem with, like, the way that is that still going?
I don't know. My face is still captured. Okay.
Like, I think I hate the way that so many people who talk about anime try to, like, divorce it from context as opposed to, like, embracing the context, because that's in many cases the most interesting thing. I think like Code Geass R2, the context is more interesting than the show.
Perhaps, but I think that both forms of criticism are valid.
Yeah.
I think you should
I just
absolutely.
wish there was more people who would acknowledge.
I think you should absolutely divorce it from context.
Yeah.
But I also think that you should look at it within context so that you can understand both what is the show, again, going back to Ebert, what is the show trying to do and how well does it accomplish it? But also the importance of what did the show mean to people? What was the reaction to it? What did people take away from it? And those are both valuable lessons we need to learn. I can say that in the past, you know, when we're talking about film criticism or stuff like that, it was overly concerned with, you know, this old school idea of what it was trying to do and how well did it do it. And nowadays, oftentimes film criticism is too obsessed with the societal impact that shows have, and the context of it, and it's all about, you know, postmodern and women's study and whatever, right? So I think absolutely both are valid interpretations, but you need to have a balanced perspective. That's what it means to have a diversity of opinion, right?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that would help anime criticism is just to have more people doing it.
Doing what? Talking about the context?
Just having more critics. Like, we don't have enough people to cover things from all these different angles.
I think we do. I don't think we lack critics. I think we lack capable critics.
That's what I mean.
But I don't necessarily think the solution is to introduce more people to it.
No, I was going to bring that up earlier, that I would say that you have made it clear that you would not prefer that we have more anime critics so much as that the ones we have try harder.
I wouldn't even say try harder. I would say approach it and improve themselves in a different way. New critics, people like me or whatever, who know a whole lot about the background information, who have studied the technicalities and such, we might be, you know, experienced and have a lot of interesting things to say, but we're not always great at putting it out. Yeah. We're not great at expressing it. We're not great at, you know, letting people understand it.
Do you think there needs to be more teams?
Perhaps, but the important thing...
I definitely think that too many YouTubers are attached to the, like, lone wolf identity of the YouTuber, and it's it's some of these people, like, if you know, if I were to work with you, I can say a lot of things I can't say by myself because you just know shit I don't know.
Well, I think if we work together, I do like working with you. I like working together with you on all that stuff. I think we have very nice conversations back and forth, but I don't think we kind of complement one another's flaws real well. I think we're very similar kinds of people.
Yeah, we have too many of the same.
We have too many of the same. Like when I'm doing something with like Chase right now. He's a good friend of mine. I think we complement ourselves very well. He doesn't know a whole lot about anime. I don't know a whole lot about being a good, you know, charismatic person. Yeah. But you know, when you put two and two together, you know, we cover one another's flaws, and you know, that's why interviewers and such, like when you're watching a late night TV show host and he's interviewing like a scientist or something. They might not know a whole lot about it, but they know how to keep a conversation going. They know how to cover the other person's flaws. And they know how to walk the guy back and have him explain it easier. Exactly. Yeah. So
that's something I consider myself very good at.
Yeah, maybe.
Is walking people back and having them re-explain it in a way that is simpler. You know?
Sure.
Especially because I don't understand a lot of high concepts, and I'm like, you know.
Well, that's not what high concept means, but you don't understand a lot of complicated concepts or academic concepts. But yeah, like I said, I wouldn't really replace the current anime